lifted me when nothing else could left. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. We can try that one more time, right? Let's see. Now I got to sit down. Let's see. See if I can do it right. Lean forward, lean backward, to the left, to the right. Stand up, sit down, to the left, to the right. Lean forward, lean backward, to the left, to the right. Stand up, sit down, to the left, to the right. Love lifted me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. All right, so I guess you did it better than I, right? All right, so you did a better job. All right, so let's see. Battlefield. We'll try this one this morning, but we only did one verse of it. Well, again, the thing is, you don't have the words in front of you. That's why you can't really sing along too much. But hopefully, from what I understand, pretty soon we are going to be able to project that up there. So that way, when we're doing a song, the assembly can sing along because the words are going to be projected to the screen. See if I can find it. Okay, good. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promise him that I serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. One more time. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promise him that I'll serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I was alone and I know I was a sinner too. I heard a voice from heaven saying there is work to do. I took the master's hand and I joined the Christian band. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promise him that I serve him till I died. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I left my friends and kindred, bound by the promised land. The grace of God upon me, the Bible in my hands, and distant lands I throwed, crying, sinner, come to God. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promise him that I'll serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. Now when I met my Savior, I met him he healed my wounded spirit and owned me as his child. Around the throne of grace, he appoints my soul a place. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield. I am on the battlefield for my Lord, and I promise him that I serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I guess they're ready to start, so I'm going to pass them the mic.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's program. Before we get started, let's say a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us here this afternoon. We ask that you may bless this program. May we all learn something and go home with something. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay. So, what does it mean to be Black in America? It means you're being judged by your skin color. It means you're being judged right when you walk in the door. You're judged by the way you do your hair, by the way you dress, and sometimes it's by your own people. It's when things are taken from you without permission, like Kendrick Johnson, who was found rolled up in a mat with his organs missing, like Martin Luther, whose life was taken at the height of the civil rights movement, like a friend of mine who fit the description because she was Black and wearing blue scrubs, and they came to her while she was in the bank and arrested her without saying anything. Like Henrietta Lacks, whose cancer cells are the source of the HeLa cell line, the first immortalized human cell and one of the most important cells in medical research. Those cells were taken without her permission. But being Black also means that we are trailblazers, that we are trendsetters, that we can be great. Like Sandy Alexander, who was the first Black person in America to earn a PhD in economics. Like Maya Angelou, who was a poet, a singer, a memorist, and a civil rights activist. Like Arthur Ashe, who was a tennis player, and he won 3 Grand Slam titles. And he was the first Black man to win the singles title at Wimbledon, which is pretty big if you watch tennis. Like James Baldwin, who was a novelist, a playwright, and an activist. Have you heard of the movie If Beale Street Could Talk? He wrote that book. Like Ruby Bridges, who was a civil rights activist, and at age 6, she integrated an all-white elementary school, and she's still alive today. Like Kobe Bryant, who was one of the trailblazers in the NBA, and countless others who have started businesses, who have created things, who have invented things all through time. We can be great too. We can be like the great ones. We don't have to have things taken from us without permission. Being Black in America has its ups and downs. So let's hear what our speaker has to say today about being Black in America. Okay, he's still looking for some stuff. So let's talk. What is your experience like being Black in America? For me, as soon as I walk through the door, they're like, oh, are you the housekeeper? Or they never think that you are the person who is in charge. How can we change that? How can we change that? We can change that simply by being great. One of the best things about being Black is that you are a trailblazer. Everything you do, they will be amazed by it. You become a doctor, they're amazed. You become a nurse, they are amazed. Every single thing you do, you can be great. You can still be a trendsetter. You can still be a trailblazer. You can still be the first person to do something, and it will be great simply because you're Black. So I think now it's a time for us to stop focusing on the negatives of being Black and to start focusing on the positives of being a Black person in America. Yes, we have the pressure. Yes, we have the prejudice. Yes, it's scary to go to the hospital, to go to the doctor, because we're afraid that we might not make it out. I had that same fear last year, and I had to talk to my doctor about it. But we can start changing that narrative. We can start changing that mindset little by little.
Well, I understand we were going to have a wave of presenters tonight, and I just have something that is considered to be an introduction as well. So I would like to begin by thanking the staff for the opportunity to speak in reference to the Black History Month. This is an occasion where it is important to stop and show respect for what many prominent African Americans were able to accomplish. Today, if we are at the stage we are, it is because of their achievements. Our focus today, however, is to quickly talk to you about what it means to be a Black man in America. You know, back in 1991, I was reading a book written by a white male, and this is what he said. A Black man in America must be intelligent, well-educated, and a law-abiding citizen. So therefore, as a Black man in America, it is crucial that you remember this statement in order for you to get by. You need to understand that the future belongs to those who take education seriously. Like someone said, success is not a matter of chance, but a matter of choice. It doesn't matter how far you went down the road. You can always make a U-turn. So as a Black man in America, you need to remember the following. In 2019, 28% of Black men ages 25 to 29 had a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to 30% of Black women, over 40% of white men. A third of white men raised by low-income parents end up in the top 40% of the income distribution as adults, compared to only 19% of Black men. Black men earn $378 less per week than white men and $125 less than white women. Overall, white women, in fact, have seen the biggest increase in earnings, overtaking Black men in the 1990s. In September 2020, 12.6% of Black men were unemployed, compared to 6.5% of white men. Black men are twice as likely to be unemployed as white men. According to CDC, Black men die 4 years earlier than white men. Black men have been the most likely among Black and white Americans to die of COVID-19 at a rate of 2.4 times that of white men, according to CDC data through July 2020. Black men face a much higher chance of being incarcerated, according to the Bureau of Justice data. Black men are overrepresented among prisoners by a factor of 5 times 32%, against only 6% of white men. These are hard facts, folks, but we need to understand that we have to face them in order to respond to the once-in-a-generation moment of racial reckoning taking place in the U.S. right now. You know, Johnny Cochran was right. During O.J. Simpson case, he declared right in the courtroom, everything in America is about race. So do not get statistic, or do not be a statistic. Do not believe in stereotype, but see yourself as a potential individual, as potential individuals who can accomplish great things. You know, like Mr. just stated earlier, sometimes when they see you as a Black person, you know, entering an institution, they take a look at you as somebody who is lower, who is at the very bottom of the ladder. You know, I remember I was at Lilly High School, and I taught adult education back then. It was a few years back, and I had a secretary The secretary happened to be a Brazilian with a white skin color. And there was a parent, a man who came to register someone for learning English. And then we were both sitting down at the table. The man went to the Brazilian, who was my secretary at the time. And then he started to talk to him about registering that man. And the lady went, no, he is the teacher. He is the teacher. And that's when he decided to come to me. But when we saw the two of us sitting down, he thought, well, that guy cannot be the teacher. The white girl, the white skinned girl, whatever, could be the teacher. So you see, as a black man in America, you should never forget that a white man can easily hide in his whiteness, but a black man not only cannot hide in his blackness makes him targetable. You see, if you have two young men, one is a male, one is a white person, the other is a black person, and they get involved in probably robbing a bank, and a police officer came in to chase them, I bet you they would go after the black man and leave the white man just, free to go. You see, America, like Johnny Cochran says right in the courtroom, everything in America is about race. So, as a black person, black men particularly, we need to be careful. Now, if you go back to when Obama was president, you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, that was a period of time when black men were killed as what? It's like every month you heard that a black man was killed by a white police officer. So that means if you are a black man, you got stopped by a police officer, you got to be careful. Because everything you touch, they're going to think you're touching a gun. And before you can even touch what you're going to touch, they're going to gun you down. I was in an internship program at Golden Gate High School way back in 1997, 1995, 95 to 97. And as I was coming from Golden Gate High School, there was a police officer on the road checking on people that were going over the speed limit. And I happened to be one of them that was going just a little bit over. So he pulled me over, okay? And at the same time, there was a white woman coming right after me. She pulled her over as well, but he said, go ahead, that was a man. He said, go ahead and stay in your car, everybody. I know who I was, and I know how it is in America, so I stayed in my car. The white woman, you know what she did? She came out and she confronted the police officer. And the police officer was very nice to her. Just think about it. If I was the one to get out of my car and be confronting the police officer like that, what would be the outcome? So therefore, if you were stopped by a police officer, they would ask you for your license and stuff. Before you even reach to get your license, tell the police officer what you're going to do, where your license is, and what you're going to do. Sir, my license is in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach to get it now. Because if you don't say anything, as soon as you bend down to grab it, to reach to it, they're going to think you're grabbing a gun, and they would kill you. This week, you have heard it maybe in the news. There is the police officer that killed the autistic guy that had a baby gun, and then she thought that was a real gun. Or that was not a real gun, but it's a taser. A taser. So she gunned down the autistic man, and the thing went, she went to prison for about a few months, and then the judgment, if you want to call it like that, there's another word for that. What is the word? What is the word? The verdict, the trial. Here we go. The trial was about last week. You know what happened? They put that white officer to jail for 2 years. Her sentence was only 2 years for killing a black man by mistake. An autistic man, not just a regular person, an autistic man. So you see, Johnny Cochran was right. Everything in America is about race. However, you know, the most important thing in a man is not how you look. It is who you are. Make sure you are someone who is a law-abiding citizen. Make sure you stay in school, you get some education. Make sure you are someone who believes in success and you do what is right. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to face racism in America. You know, make it a good day for you every day. Make it a successful life for you. Because remember, your destiny is in your hands. Your destiny is in your hands. And therefore, if you want your life to be a successful life, the choice is yours today. The choice is going to be yours tomorrow. The choice will also be yours forever. It is in your power to succeed. You are the only one that can stop yourself from being what you want to be. And that's where I'll stop. And I will give way for the other people to come and do their presentation.
So, like Brother Max said, being a black man in America, and I'm going to also include women in that, you must be educated. You must be an intellectual. And the reason why is because that will be the best defense that you have against anything that may come to you. You must be educated. You must be an intellectual. Now we're going to have some people come up and talk about some iconic black people in history. We're going to have Ines. Is Ines ready? Is he ready? Oh, okay. So Ines is not ready. We're going to move on to the next one. We have some very powerful people throughout history. We have Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks. We're going to hear about a couple of those people today. So since Ines isn't ready, we're going to go ahead and move on to Judlin.
Okay, I'm supposed to do my presentation, and then at the end, you guess who I am. I was born into slavery in 1819. I was put to work by the age of 5. Can you believe this? I was just 5 years old. I was beaten a lot by my masters. I received whippings, even though I didn't do anything wrong. When I was 12, I refused to help tie up another slave who attempted to escape. That's when I started having blackouts. That day, my masters beat me and hit me very hard on the head. Oh, life was just unbearable. When I was 25, I married my sweet love John, who later on did not want to have anything to do with my mission. When I was 30, I decided to escape. I didn't even want to tell my husband because I know that he would tell on me. The only person I told was my sister. I escaped. I did it at night. A white neighbor gave me a piece of paper with 2 names on it. Those people would help me gain my freedom. In 1851, I began to transport my family to the north. I didn't stop there. I did 19 trips, freed more than 300 slaves. They call me the Moses of my people. Who am I? All right, good job. Yes, that was Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, she was part of the underworld one way. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys know about her. She helped free a lot of slaves. She went back after she freed so many people. She made so many trips. She went back to help her husband escape. But when she returned, her husband was already remarried, and then he didn't want to have anything to do with that because he wanted to still be a slave, which is actually a shame. When we think about her story, it's kind of like a lot of us, we're so comfortable to where we at. Like we're not trying to make any changes. We allow people to do anything to us. We don't stand up for ourselves. That is still slave mentality. We have to get out there. Because if we don't show them that we're not that, we're not a slave anymore, and you can't treat us like that, they will continue to do it. I just want to leave you guys with this message by not still being that slave mentality. We have to tell them, hey, this is who I am. What you portray me to be, it's not who I am, but this is who I am. Thank you.
Harriet Tubman, because of that blow she received on her head since she was a teenager, she suffered all throughout her life with that injury until she died. And there's a nickname for her. Without Googling that, does anyone know what was Harriet Tubman's nickname? Yes. Absolutely, Moses of slavery. The reason why she was called, because she was the one who was trying to help other slaves escape. So they call her the Moses of slavery. Very good, very good. All right, so the next person. Okay, Ernest is going to be our next presenter or speaker.
We're just gonna play a quick little game. It's Who Am I? Do you have any prizes, Dudlin? You said they would have prizes. Bragging rights? Oh, that sounds good. I was an African American that played baseball. I married my college sweetheart. I wore 42 while I played baseball. I played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I was Rookie of the Year in 1947. I was a 6-time All-Star when I played baseball. I was MVP in 1949. I passed away at the age of 53 due to a heart attack. My number now, 42, is retired by all Major League Baseball teams. Who am I? That's a good one. Favorite last at Babe Ruth. Really? Okay. Let's. From Max said Jackie Robinson. That is correct.
You know what was funny about Jackie Robinson? He was such a good baseball player in his team, but yet because he was a black man, you know, at that time you had what we call black men restaurants, white men restaurants. segregation, okay? White man, fountain of water fountain, and black man, water fountain. Even though he was such a great baseball player, because he was a black man, he wasn't allowed to go to the same, water fountain as the other black players in the team. But he was a guy of great character. In spite of all that, he remained what he was. That's why I told you earlier, what is important about you as a person is not how you look, but it is who you are. All right? So the next speaker is going to be?
Okay. So I have a few more people that I'm going to talk about, and you guys can tell me if you know who they are. So this person was an American activist, an entrepreneur, and a Grammy Award-winning rapper. He was raised in South Central, and he joined in gangs to survive, but eventually attained success in the music industry. He focused on giving solutions and inspiration to young black men like him. He denounced gun violence through his music, influence, and community work while speaking openly about his experiences with gang culture. He was shot and killed a day before he was to meet with LAPD officials to address gang violence in South Los Angeles. No. Who is it? Nipsey Hussle. No one knows who that is? Yes. Okay, let's see if you guys are paying attention. This person's cancer cells were taken from them and used to form the HeLa cell, which is the first immortal cell used. Who is that? Who is it? Henrietta Lacks, we spoke about her earlier. She's known as the only she has the cells that never die, so they consider her to still be alive. Let's talk about this person. This person, they came from the streets of Compton, and they became the world's #1 player. They won #1 player in tennis. They won 23 major single titles, and this is the most between any man or any woman in the open era. This person was ranked #1 in singles on 8 separate occasions between 2002 and 2017, and has competed at 3 Olympics and won 4 gold medals. Who is this? Yes, Serena Williams.
Serena Williams.
She, white shirt right there. Okay. Let's talk about this one. This person was born into slavery but escaped with her infant daughter to freedom in 1826. She then sued and won the return of her 5-year-old son who was illegally sold into slavery. In 1851, she began a lecture tour that included a women's rights conference where she delivered her famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech, challenging prevailing notions of racial and gender inferiority and inequality. She collected thousands of signatures petitioning to provide former slaves with land. Who is this? Okay. No. Anybody else want to try? Sojourner Truth. Have you heard of Sojourner Truth? And the boss, she was, I don't know what to say. Who here can tell me about a great black man or woman in history? Remember, we spoke about it's very important as a black person in history to be educated and to be an intellectual, because that is your greatest defense. And one of the things that you must always be up to date on is your history, okay? We have someone over here. Samuela? Okay, come on, come up here so you could tell us a little bit about President Barack Obama. Come on. Just tell us a little bit about Obama and what made him so influential in the Black community.
He was the first African American president in the United States.
I'd like to say something about that. Well, she said something. That's better than being totally quiet. Okay, as he talked about Barack Obama, I remember when Barack Obama was a presidential candidate, I was taking a class at Florida Gulf Coast University. And when my professor heard that, he went, "What? This guy just became a senator for 2 years and he wants to be president? I'm more qualified than this guy." So that means to him, there was no way that this guy could have been president. And this guy was president for 2 terms.
Okay. This person was drafted right out of Lower Merion High School at the age of 17. He won 5 titles as one of the marquee players in the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. He was a member of the gold medal winning U.S. men's basketball teams in 2008 Beijing Olympic Games and the 2012 London Olympic Games. Who is this? Kobe Bryant, yes, one of the great ones. This person, at age 6, embarked on a historic walk to school as the first African-American student to integrate the all-white William Frantz Elementary School in Louisiana. Ruby Bridges, and you guys know she's still alive? Can you believe that? Who can tell me in what year slavery was abolished? $1800s is close. Give me something more specific. 1865. So it's been, 150 years since slavery was abolished. And who can tell me which president abolished slavery? Abraham Lincoln. And in what year was segregation finished? I believe it was 1968, because I know when you were born, segregation was just ending. Yes. So what was the special term for the abolishment of slavery? I know you guys have heard of it because it's probably one of the longest titles that that you first learned. The abolishment of slavery was called what? I'm not going to make it come up here if you say it. The Emancipation Proclamation. I didn't hear it. So this person was an American poet, a singer, a memorist, and a civil rights activist with a colorful and troubling past, and she highlighted in her most famous autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, several books of poetry, and is credited with a list of plays, movies, and television shows spanning over 50 years. Who is this? Maya Angelou. So, you guys, we have talked about a lot of great, influential people throughout Black history. And I'm pretty sure if you look, at your own lives, at your own families, you'll see some great Black people too. Most of our parents here, they were being raised in the time when segregation was just ending. So there was still that tough love of segregation around. They're still seeing those signs of all whites or all Black here and there. So if you ever want to know more about Black history, if you ever want to know more about Haitian history, just ask your parents and they will have many, many stories to tell you. When we look at the island of Haiti, who owned the island of Haiti and when did we gain our independence? If you don't know this, I mean, are you Haitian? France owned Haiti, and when did Haiti gain its independence?
Yeah, you
1804. So it was 1804. And what's the exact date? No, that's Flag Day. January 1st, 1804. May 18th is Flag Day. And what is a Haitian tradition on January 1st? Okay, good. All right. And who can tell me some of the Haitian presidents? Some of the great Haitian presidents. Who can tell me? Okay. Okay. Do any of the young people here in the audience know any of the Haitian presidents? So, because you see, like I was saying, it is important for us to know not just Black history. What we talked about today was more American Black history. But we also have to remember, as Haitians, we also are Black. So it's also important for us to know our personal history. We need to know our presidents. We need to know our Independence Day. We need to know our traditions. Yes, we are here in America, and we are living in America, but we have to remember our roots. Okay? Judeline, do we have anything? Okay. So Judeline has some books that she'll be passing around, and Brother Max would like to say a couple more words before we end.
No, I thought we had other people that were going to speak. No, okay. Well, as we were about to close, I remember Brother Villard St. Fleur was preaching on a Black History Day at this church. And he went over a whole bunch of stuff that were invented by Black people. And we, as Black people, we are so stereotyped that everything we see, we say, oh, blanc est comme ça le voile. Blanc c'est comme ça le voile. Alors que, in fact, there are many things out there. It's not a white person that has invented it. It's a Black person. Among the few that he had mentioned, I remember, and I have those posted in my classroom as well. Did you know that the peanut butter that you are putting in your bread was an invention of a Black person? Papi cherche la peanut butter, pour faire tourner peanut butter, c'est un Black person qui venait avec lui. Did you know the cell phone that you're using is a Black man's invention? Cellular phone. Did you know that the electric lamp, well, they said Thomas Edison, came up with light bulbs. But when it comes to electric lamp, the one that is standing, it's a Black man invention. AC. And how many more do you remember? Yes, elevator, ironing board. Absolutely. Fire extinguisher. Saddam Hussein was hung.
by a black person.
Yeah.
So much more things were invented by black people, which they don't teach those things in class.
No. No.
I mean, they leave it up to you, black people, to find it out.
To find out, yes, yes.
And unfortunately, a white man says, if you want to hide a treasure from a black person, put it inside of a book. Because black people don't read. But
Yeah.
I have a question which I feel like it's been burning in my head. How can we, let me say it in Creole that I may better say it. Nous focus sur l'histoire des Noirs aux États-Unis, alors que Missa a touché un parti qui est extrêmement important. Comment nous expliquer que même au sein de moun noir, et c'est pi bagay qui pi red qu'on capable joindre, when black people discriminated against black people. Ou joindre Américains noirs qui discriminate against Haitians, ou joindre Haitians Americans qui discriminate against Haitians because who they are. I mean, ou ka éduquer toute la vie ou ka éduquer toute la vie. And then then it's going to be very sad for me to say it then. Go right there to Southeastern Conference. If you're black, you're black. If you're Haitians, you're Haitians. You're not American. You're not black American, my friend. You Haitians. As a matter of fact, let me tell you that. Pastor Brown, monsieur était Jamaïcain. Monsieur était dans la conférence, président conférence, Pastor Brown.
I remember.
You remember that?
Yeah, go ahead and
You remember him?
and tell the others.
Okay. You know what the American people said to him? Monsieur vle haïtianiser, si c'est mot ça, si c'est terme dans ça. Southeastern Conference. What is Southeastern Conference color? Black. Et si vous allez dans Southeastern Conference, si c'est pas communauté haïtienne, non, Southeastern pas ça que lié jodi en den. But sometimes we talk about the white discriminations. We talk about Black History Month. We talk about, being discriminated in this society. I'm sitting there. Je me dis peut-être est-ce que nous pas gon bagay que n'a caché. Parce que si discrimination en dedans nous là, est-ce que nous connaissons que je pense que grand pile monde la connaît, même je me connais non. Est-ce que nous connaissons que Loma Linda, l'hôpital adventiste du 7e jour, qui était un monde noir mourir pour sang et c'est même monde ça qui inventé plasma sang?
Yeah. Yeah, discrimination en mi-temps noir avec noir encore pire. Encore pire. As a matter of fact, Malcolm X was killed by another black man. Okay? All right, there's a question back here. What's that? Oh, you have a poem. Okay, so I'm going to pass the mic to the director. I believe she has one more speaker, and then she will probably turn it to you after, Kat.
Okay, we talk about a lot of other black people. Well, this person is a black person. He's also a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't know if you guys heard of him, but Dr. Ben Carson is a Seventh-day Adventist. He is a surgeon. I learned about him in school. He performed really poorly in school. Like, he was not the smartest kid. But his mother encouraged him to read. Him and his brother, they were reading. Yeah. He had a intellectual disorder. what was it? Dyslexic. So when he read it backwards. Like, he really had trouble with that. But he ended up being a surgeon, okay? He performed a surgery that lasted 22 hours, and it involved 70 members of the surgical team. No. That surgery was the conjoined twins. The conjoined twins that was the first surgery. He's the one that performed this surgery, like the first surgeon to perform a conjoined twin surgery. That's when the brains, the head, they were attached back of the other head. He was the one who was able, the first surgeon who was able to separate those two twins without them, successfully, without them end up dead on the surgical table. So we have a lot of other Adventist Black person that did great things. I want to encourage you guys, when you're in school, pay attention. Even though you see other kids are goofing off, but you have a reason to be there, okay? Listen to your parents, pay attention, do your homework, and you'll be a great, wonderful Black individual.
That's something that I would like to add, and I think it's very significant. Our presentation here tonight is not telling you that you have to discriminate against white people. That's not what we're saying. Okay, what we're saying is to show you your importance as people. Okay? There is no one can stop you from being whatever you want to be. Do not let anybody judge you by your skin color. Your skin color does not determine who you are. That's the purpose of our presentation, but not for you to discriminate against white people. Because we see, as Christians, we see everyone as important, everyone as a child of God. All right, we show respect, we show appreciation for everybody. Okay? But again, do not let people look down on you because you are Black. All right? So I guess it's Kat. Kat that has a poem. And then the director will conclude. Miss, I will conclude? Okay.
Good evening, church. The director, Sister Dudlene, was talking about Ben Carson. I want you to know there's a movie about him. It's a good movie. It's an old movie, but it's a good movie, guys, if you want to check it out. The name of the movie is Gifted Hands.
Yeah, I remember I saw that. And did you know that Ben Carson was also a presidential candidate? Oh, not a good one?
Hey, Black child, do you know you are who you really are? Do you know you could be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, Black child, do you know where you're going, where you're really going? Do you know you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn what you can learn? Hey, Black child, do you know you are strong? I mean, really strong. Do you know you could do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, Black child, be what you want to be. Learn what you must learn. Do what you can do. And tomorrow your nation will be what you can and what it to be.
I remember Brother Max started his introduction about something that, I forgot the name, I'm sorry about that. What the man said about the problem, John Lee Cortland. He said the problem of America is a racial problem. But what does that tell us, guys? It tells us that we have to do better. Like Brother Mark said, it doesn't, everybody is a child of God. But for you, for me, as a black person in America, I have to put more effort into everything I'm doing so I can be successful. If I have the same degree as a black person, as a white person next to me, they are going to choose that person. So what do I need to do? I need to do better. If that person has to put like 100%, I know I have to put 200% to be chosen. So it just encourages you guys, you are a black person, but you have to do more than a white person. Madam. Just on what she said, that you have to be harder, you have to work harder, you have to, and I heard my director say, but that's not really fair. And this is why I was doing I was looking for it because I like to have like, where did I get that information that I'm sharing? For some reason, I can't find it. I was doing this reading, which was very astonishing to me, Professor Max. It's not published because they don't want us to know it, and I wanted to find it so bad. But basically what it's saying, a study was done, and they wanted to see who are the smartest in population group. But first, you know how with Darwin, they believe that we came from monkeys and ape. So they started with that type of creature. And they checked the genome, meaning how's the brain, how's the genome of the monkey. And it depends on what the numbers. So they find out that they have 3. And they check the other animal, the chimpanzee, they have 3. So basically, they're smart animals. And of course, they can teach them. And if you watch the Planet of the Apes, you find out that they can learn a lot. So now they start by nation group. Then of course they tried the white, did you read that? They tried the European, and they found that they have 6. So they're pretty smart. And then they try another group and study them, and they find that they have 6. But then they said, let's go to Africa. And they study and find out they have 9. So they're smart, smarter than the other nation. But to keep us down, the playground is not even. And the statement was, if you even the ground, the playground, then they excel. For example, let's go to golf. Who could you think that excel in golf? That is not white, that is not European, but black. Guess, you guys who are playing, guess. Tiger Woods. Okay, and I heard you guys talk about somebody in basketball. Because at first they were not allowed to play. It was just a certain group. Then somebody mentioned a black person. Yes. Somebody mentioned Jackie. You know, you can go on and on. Then when you look at tennis, you know, French Open, we didn't have a lot of black. But now the playing field is, then we have Serena Williams. Then, of course, we have President Obama. I mean, the list will go on. And the young lady just read, hey, black child. Hey, black child. Child of God. We can go far, farther than the world can imagine. All we have to do is even the playing field. And the only way we know how to even the playing field now, which is not necessarily fair, is that we have to work harder. And then even with working harder, we still make it. So let's be motivated. We are smart, and we are a child of God. Thank you. I know we're talking about history, It's still happening. Right here in New York, and I know that person, like it's a family member. There's a board test, there's a group of them, he's a teacher in New York. There's a test, they took that test over and over, but none of them couldn't pass the test. And there was a group of lawyers, they went, they did their research, and they find out that it's only the black teachers who couldn't pass the test. So what's happening right now? The government is being sued, New York, and they won, actually, it's completed. They won because it was made somehow for the black teachers, so they couldn't pass that test. So it's not only history, guys. It's still happening. It is reality. You have to do your best. You have to be on your best behavior. You have to be very vigilant. The way you speak, the way you conduct yourself, just be careful out there.
Do we have anyone else that would like to add anything? Any questions? Any comments? Anas?
This is the percentage of black health professions in the United States. Veterans are 1.97, physical therapists are 3.7, physical assistants are 4.88, dentists are 4.13, occupational therapy is 6.01, surprisingly registered nurses are 10.8, pharmacists are 12%, physicians and surgeons are 12%, and that's just for black people, and the other races, of course, are, the other races.
So that kind of shows you that that's just a small dent that's been made in the U.S. So that's what I was saying earlier. There's still room for you to be great. Think about whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to be a nurse, there's room for you in the nursing field. If you want to be an astronaut, there's room for you in that field. Many black people have gone to space. If you want to be a chef, there's room for you in that field. If you want to start your own business, whatever it may be, there is room for you in the field because we are still making that dent in history. And like we've talked about today, we have to remember, yes, there is a lot of prejudice still, and that's why we mentioned that it's very important to be educated, to be an intellectual, not just so you can defend yourself, but also so that you can know what is going on with your own people. Did you? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, you know, we're talking about black history, and you cannot talk about black history without referring to slavery, right? And I don't know how many people know that slavery did not start with black people. Okay, well, they started to practice slavery in European countries. As a matter of fact, the word slavery comes from the word Slavs. So in other words, there were the Slavs. This is where slavery started before, in those European countries. You know, how did it start? It started by the fact that some people who could not care for themselves, so they were placed under the, I'd say, the protection of others. So people that were providing for them, they became their slaves because they could not provide for themselves. And we all know about the fact that the Jews were slaves in Egypt, right? And we also remember that Egypt actually is the country that had the greatest civilization in all the world. Many things that Egypt had as civilization, it is very sad that European, they went and stole those things, and they called those things theirs. And that's the same thing they did in Africa as well. So, these things it's important for us to know, the original stuff. So when we see it, when we hear people talk about that, and we know where they come from. Okay?
Pastor, did you have something you wanted to add? No? Okay. Does anyone have a question or a comment that they would like to add?
I'm going to go back to the point that I made earlier as a comment, but now I'm going to transfer it as a question. How can we, church, fight discriminations among us in the church? Because let me give you an example, maybe you can better address or respond to my questions. Our own children are discriminated against their parents because they are Haitians. Because they don't speak English. We're talking black against black. We're talking parents and children. How can we deal with that situations? We're talking about discriminations within the black church. And I've been giving you examples. Go right there to Southeastern Conference. I mean, people would be afraid of talking about those kind of things because I like the way, I believe Fred had mentioned it so many times. Sometimes we're afraid of talking about our own flaws. But the thing is, more we afraid of talking about them, more they keep, crawling in. And then more harms they will do to us. Because when you are looking at it, one of the problems that we have in our churches, Haitian churches in America, because our children that are born and raised in this country think we are a different kind of people because we came from Haiti. When you go to a Hispanic church, you don't find that problem in the Hispanic church. What is going on? How can we, comment on this one?
It's not an easy question to answer. But it is sad, though. It is very sad to see this kind of thing exists among us as Christians, as a Christian organization. It's very sad to see that. And there are more about what Brother Villard said that are taking place right now. And many people know about that, but we don't want to be the person that would publish that, right? But it is very sad. I think one of the ways, Brother Villa, that we can come across that is by understanding that we all are children of God. And that God sees us just like the same without any difference at all. Until we come to understand that, we will always have prejudice, discrimination among us. And unfortunately, I'm afraid to say, this is a problem that will never be solved as long as Jesus Christ is not back yet. Because what I understand in our world, it is an imperfect world, and it's going to be. At some point, we can get to an improvement, but we will never get to perfection. Therefore, discrimination among us in the church can be reduced to a minimum, but we will never be able to eliminate it. That's what I think.
Okay, so I just wanted to give another response to that because, Father, you gave a very political response. I think that can be eliminated if each person teach. So each one teach one. And we have to understand that it starts with the parents, and it might even start with the grandparents. When you come over from Haiti, you're coming over to a country where you don't speak the language, and your kids are starting out at that age where they have to go to school. So I remember when I was younger, I came here, I spoke French, my mom spoke French, we spoke French and Creole. When I was going to school, I was learning English, my mom was learning English with me. Therefore, she spoke English with me at home so that she could learn English. So I started losing my French, losing my Creole. So, like, I lost that part of my heritage. So if each person teaches one, but we also have to continue to teach our history, then we can stop that kind of discrimination, that kind of animosity between the parents and the children. Because yes, you have to learn the culture that you're in here in America, but you also have to learn and maintain the culture that you come from. So I think it goes back to each one teach one, and also parents educating their children about their own history. And then I think that will start to lessen the negative stigma between parents and kids. I'm not sure if I answered your question more directly. And then we have our brother back there.
So I know I was here since '95, so it's like the church changed, because back then it was just Creole, now it's just mostly English. And it's a lot of improvement now. But what I'm trying to see if I can follow what Brother Villard is saying is that what I've seen psychologically among those two, between the Spanish and the Haitian, it's like, if I'm not trying to kind of feeling pity for Haitian people, I think sometimes a lot of Haitian parents think that children are better than them. Okay? Which you found different in other cultures. Because when I came in this country in '95, I saw some Haitian parents sometimes even afraid to talk to their children. Afraid, it's like he is an American. They're afraid of that name. They're afraid to discipline the kids. They feel like the children are better than them sometimes, you know, and afraid of them. And I don't know if I'm trying to follow what Brother Villa is trying to say between the Spanish. When you look at the Spanish culture, they don't do that. They speak Spanish with the kids. They get them into the culture, understand the culture. But Haitian people sometimes, we afraid to bring Haiti in front of the kids. It's like the kids is not Haitian, you know? It's like Haiti is a dirty place, but not trying to bring it to the children. We are afraid, we're not proud of where we came from. Okay? We think that the kids are, because they're born here, they are better than Haitian people. And sometimes as a parents, we feel like they're even better than you as a parents. Okay? And I've seen it psychologically among a lot of Haitian parents. Among a lot of Haitian parents who, sometimes I have two kids, okay? I have two kids. I always tell them that I'm the one who sacrificed for you, and I will not afraid of you. As long as I work to provide for you, you know, I teach them about Haiti. I let them know one day in this society, if you meet a Haitian person who doesn't speak English, help them. Because your mom and your dad are Haitian. You know, I hope one day we can surpass that to understand that your kids cannot better than you. Okay? And I've seen it. I don't know if I'm helping or if I'm trying to follow what Brother Villard tried to say. Because I've seen it, a lot of Haitian parents afraid of their children, afraid talking to them. Or maybe they're better than you. That's not true.
So I do notice between the Hispanic culture and the Haitian culture, like you're saying, the Hispanic culture really embraces their culture at home, at school, at wherever they are. Whereas Haitians, we're Haitians at home, but at school you only speak English, you're American, you don't show, because I remember they talk a lot about there was a time when it wasn't cool to be Haitian. So people didn't speak Creole because they didn't want you to know that, your parents didn't want them to know that you were Haitian because people were talking bad about Haitians, about, you know, the negativity, like voodoo, and they eat the different kinds of negative foods that they eat, those kinds of stuff. But the Hispanic culture, they always embrace their culture. They teach their kids Creole. They teach them about the culture. And maybe that's what's lacking, is the lack of education on the Haitian culture within the Haitian community. So if we have that, then yeah, we can be like them too. Our kids can go out there, they'll know the language, they'll know the culture, and there won't be that negativity between the parents and the kids. Because when we look at our grandparents and our parents, like if I look at my parents' relationship and with their parents, it's very positive, it's very good, because they still have that, they basically share the same culture and you know, the same beliefs. So when it comes between me and my parents, because I was raised here, I don't have as much Haitian culture as I do American culture. So I think that might be what causes that difference. Bob?
Yeah, I just want to say something about like what Fuevila said versus the Hispanic and the Haitian and, you know, Americanized. I think there's a problem with the older adults too when it comes to like why kids denies their language, because why I said that is you go to school, what they teaching is Spanish, French, and English, but there's a lot of Haitian here. Why is Haitian not being taught at school? When you go out to a job interview, they're yeah, Creole. Like they're not teaching, like they're not really teaching Creole in school. So when you go to a job, they're gonna ask you to translate Spanish and French. What happened to Creole? You know, if the older generation, you know, they didn't try to hide their Creole to try to speak English to their kids, and then they keep on speaking Creole to their kid, I think Creole would be part of the culture in school. So therefore, if I'm not learning Creole in school, they don't have that. If you go to this job, you have to translate Creole to someone to get that job. But they have the Spanish, they have the French. So a lot of times the kids don't want to speak Creole anymore because they don't have the opportunity to help someone tomorrow. You get what I'm saying, Fabiola? I don't know if that kind of...
I heard what you said, but let me tell you, I mean, let Creole be part of a curriculum in a school. It's not up to the parents. It's up to the school to let it happen, okay? Because you are living in a country where some language are predominant, okay? I mean, you will have that issue in your school. But right there, I'm talking about within us. I believe Misa kind of touched the point, and Rico also did touch the point. It's because the problem started at home. And then we as Haitian parents, we have this tendency of hiding our identity, okay, to our children. And that's the reason why, I mean, I've said it over and over again. My mom was not always in the fortunate positions when I was growing up. I remember I was what? Probably I was 5 years old. My mom's situation was really bad at that time. Okay? But you know what? In 2006, I believe, or 7, I took my children to Haiti. Okay? And I took them to that place where my mom used to pay like, 25 cents would be un goût de 25. C'est ça? 25 cob? No, 25 cents. A quarter, right? A quarter was a good 5 centimes. Good écart, okay? Maman te loué on caille pour 6 good. For 6 quarters and something. Okay? And I took Gina and Adlin to that neighborhood where that house was. Unfortunately, the house was no longer there. And, you know, the reason why I did that, to let my children know. I'm not here to let them know that I was growing up rich. I wasn't growing up rich. But you know what? And I said it all the time. If you go back to the town where my mom used to live, or we still have the house there, you would say from 6C good to a 2-story house in the plumbing, my mom make a lot of progress. If you take myself, okay, from where I was as a 5-year-old to where I am today, I'm living like a king. Point blank. And I said, praise the Lord for that. And I'm not afraid of telling my children about my past as a Haitians. Okay, as a matter of fact, when I find people telling me about, oh, Haiti's did, Haiti's that, Haiti's this. I'm driving Uber at night. Last week, I got a couple people, and they were talking to me, blah, 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 you know. And I said, yeah, I'm Haitians. And then I'm planning on going back home. They start feeling pity for me. And I said, why are you feeling pity for me, though? I said, when I'm going back home, I'm going to live like a king with what I have in this country. And I said, they said, well, there was a lot of insecurity in Haiti right now, right? I said, so much in America, right? And I said, I'm driving for Uber. If you calling me in a certain area, in Golden Gate area, I will not go at a certain time. And I said, have you heard about Chicago? And then unfortunately, these people were from Chicago. South side of Chicago. And I said, have you ever heard about this place in Miami that called Liberty City? Overtown? Those are places that, not even in my dream, if I'm driving at overtime, I will make it so fast I can get out of it though. If I can, you know what? If you go to Liberty City, you can be as black as you want. If they don't know who you are in that neighborhood, you better run for your life. Liberty City, right there in Miami. And I said, have you ever heard those in the news? No. But you heard about Cité Soleil, right? I said, you know why? Because Haiti is a poor country. That's what it is. But beside this one, we as Haitians, we need to start changing that. And I'm so proud of this church, not because I'm a member of this church, but I'm so proud of it. Majorité l'église nous yo den. Yo font travail avec jeunes nous yo que vraiment aimé. M'ka parler pour l'église pam ici en den. Et m'a demandé l'église là pour continuer faire. N'a font deuxième si nous avons possibilité pour nous faire deuxième culte. Pour ti moun nou yo, c'est pour nous faire deuxième culte pour yo. But you know what? Our culture, we should never change it in the church because this is a Haitian church. So nous pas américaniser li, mais n'a incorporer ti moun nou yo la donne. Make them feel at home. Give them a second service, but don't change the dynamic to be a black American church because we are not. And we will never be a black American church. We should always be proud of who we are, like Misa said. Okay, talk about our past. We could just say it though. Don't be afraid of who we are or where we came from. Okay, that's in the past. Or if it's still there, we can change the mentality. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, one thing that Brother Villard says about insecurity, we have that everywhere. It's not just in the Caribbean, okay? We have that everywhere. Haiti happens to be a small country, so everything that happens, it's like goes out as an echo, okay? But in the United States, a big country, you know, you have crime here, crime there. You don't even hear about them because it's such a big country. Yeah, and, you know, so you see that makes the whole difference. Not only that it's not just the whole country; it's just the capital, Port-au-Prince, like you said. But this is a huge country, and therefore, when something happens, many things are happening right as we speak. Crime is happening in this country, but we don't hear too much about them because it's a big country.
One more thing I would like to add to the changing that culture of feeling less. It has to start, I was going to touch on the home. When I look at it, both of them really, one was political, one bringing it down. Home. It starts at home. I grew up with a little bit of prejudice. When I was in grade 1, I did not know that my skin had a color. I had Mrs. Bethel, and you know, I just wish now that I would have gone to her funeral and give the speech to let them know that this woman had shielded me from the sting of prejudice. When I left her class, then I find out I was a nigger and a black. So I was shocked. You know, when I say shock, it's like, first she treat all the kids. So it's learned. We were not born to feel that Haitians are better than it was taught to us. And another thing, one way we can change is that we have to say, oh, Haïtien, c'est ça fait moi Haïtien. I mean, we are echoing the negative. We have to stop also within ourselves. It's not Haïtien, it's people. It's sinful people, people with a defective gene. We sin, so we're not nice to everybody. But, you know, it's Haitian. To the Haïtien, Haïtien ceci, Haïtien. Then who's going to want to be an Haïtien if everybody's saying Haïtien, Haïtien, Haïtien? So we as adults, we need to change our tone, and that will help to change the culture. That's all I wanted to say for what else you guys said.
So I would like to thank everyone that was part of the program this evening, everyone that presented, everyone that had a comment that added to the discussion. We learned a lot tonight. We learned about our history, and we learned that our future before us is bright and that we can be great. We are just starting to make the dent in history for Black greatness, so there is room for every single one of us to be great. We must also remember to teach each one, teach one. Let's remember our culture, remember our roots, and stick to them as we grow into who we are going to be. So Dudeline will be passing out some books in the foyer. Oh, okay, she already passed out the books. They look like really good books. It's a devotional. Yes, I did, I got one, yes. Yes, I have one, yes. Okay, so let's all stand up for a word of prayer.
Reste avec nous, Seigneur, le jour décline, la nuit s'approche et nous menace tous. Nous implorons ta présence divine. Reste avec nous, Seigneur, reste avec nous. Heureux l'homme qui ne marche pas sur le conseil de méchants, qui ne s'arrête pas sur la voie des pécheurs, ne s'assied pas en compagnie des moqueurs, tout ce qui est l'heure éternelle et qui la midi jour et nuit, et leur commande la plate de mes grands dos, que notre fille en sa saison, et dans le tout ce que le fait lui ici, ce n'est pas ainsi méchant, ce qu'on pareil que le vent disciple. Les justes, je connais la voie des justes et la voie des pécheurs, mais dans la ruine. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this moment we had this afternoon. We thank you for the whole day. We had a wonderful worship service this morning. And this afternoon we were back here again to discuss about the history of Black people. We thank you for all the good information that was provided. We ask that we are able to use them in a positive way so that we can become better as Christians, better citizens, so we can not only represent our parents, but we can represent you, Father, so we can distribute your word to those who don't know it yet. Accept our prayer. Bless the week that is going to open up before us. We do not know what this week will bring, but we can rely on you, knowing that you will direct our path to the successful way so that we can be a citizen of your kingdom. Bless the church leaders, bless the pastor in particular and his family. Bless each and every one of us, the youth director, all the young people. Give us to continue to grow spiritually until you come. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. But we know there are going to be another program at 8 in about 1 hour. So if you go on the stage, just stick on. So, yeah.